Hi everyone. So today I'm going to talk about a trilogy that was published quite a while ago, called The Selection by Kiera Cass, and it's a YA dystopia. And the premise is that the main character America is entered into a selection program where one of them will be chosen to marry the Prince Maxon. And so there's 35 of them. They go to this palace and they live there, and the prince tries to get to know them, and they basically go through a number of rounds of elimination where he's choosing his bride. So the society they live in has got these number of different levels and layers that are numbered. So if you're a one, you're like royalty basically. And if you're an eight, you're kind of like at the bottom and you're the servants, and you don't have many prospects. There was definitely the sense of people struggling with their income, people not having enough to eat, and different people suffering at different levels in the system. Now, the heart of the story is a love triangle between America, the heroine, Maxim, the prince, and then Aspen, who is a boy that she's grown up with, who is a lower status than her. The trilogy is made of 3 books. The first one is The Selection, the second one is The Elite, and the third one is The One. And I did read them all back to back because I did want to find out what happened, and I sort of felt like once I'd started, well, I may as well just plough on. It was very readable. I was left feeling a bit unsure at the end of what I should think about it, and I didn't know if I was being a bit harsh in my judgment, so I tried to let it sit for a little bit. But I think what I found difficult about it was that whilst it was definitely not taking itself very seriously, and it was kind of using the whole reality TV contestant type thing in a kind of ironic way. These 35 girls are all kind of like, it's like they're contending for Miss America. They're all dressed in these gowns and they're doing various tasks. And it definitely does that ironically and seeks to question, why women would be doing that to become the wife of this prince. But on the other hand, there was a streak of the book that enjoyed the pageantry and enjoyed that setting of being dressed up in nice dresses in the palace. And so for me, it sort of sat uncomfortably because I wasn't really sure what we were meant to take from that as readers, and particularly for teenage girls who kind of might easily be drawn into that kind of reality TV glamour world. I think it would have been better to expose it a little bit more for what it was, rather than kind of sugarcoating it, which I did feel that this book did. The main hero, who's the prince, honestly just found him really bland and didn't really see much to like about him. The fact that the heroine's name was America, I just really struggle with that. It might be because I'm British, but the whole way through I was just like, why is she called America? That's just such a weird name, and it's not easy to kind of relate to someone who is called the name of a country that in your mind is like a concept rather than an actual person. I did feel the love triangle was a bit done to death. Like, it took a number of quite tired twists and turns. So in that sense, the book was fairly predictable, and it felt a little bit like when events happened to create obstacles, you kind of felt like that was inevitable and kind of just done arbitrarily to create an obstacle rather than because there was validity behind the reasons and validity behind the plot twists and turns. So there definitely was some kind of message about society because as you go through the 3 books, there's more about the system that the society has, about the levelling, and how by the end of the trilogy there is the sense that that's going to be overturned, which I think is really good because fundamentally dystopia is about struggling within a system that you either have to bring the system down or you have to get out. That's generally the movement of dystopia. But I think to me, this book felt more like a swoony romance than it did a dystopia, because the dystopian elements were pretty bland and watered down, and were definitely not the main focus of the book. I think ultimately, the intentions of this book are really good, and the heroine wants to question, why is she here? Why has she got to look beautiful all the time? Why has she got to dress up for this prince? And as she actually gets to know him and develops a real relationship with him, she sort of sees through the kind of pageantry and just wants a real relationship. And that I thought was good. But I think there was some quite troubling implications for young girls thinking, well, if ultimately at the end of the story, the heroine's still dressing up in gowns and living in a higher stratosphere of wealth than other people are, then even if the system is changing, it's not entirely convincing. And it feels like she's almost undergone a negative arc of going from a position of caring about justice and caring about understanding poverty, and then actually moving further away from it as the series progresses. The other thing I would say as well, which is purely from a kind of consumer point of view, is that it very much works as a trilogy, but if you read the books on their own, it's really unsatisfying. And like, you get to the end of book one and you're like, oh, that's the end. On the one hand, it was very successful in getting me to buy the others, to read them, because I felt like it was very unfinished. But in terms of, like, I think a really good trilogy, there needs to be a sense of real wholeness and completion within each unit of the trilogy, as well as obviously an overarching unity. And I did feel like, the three books probably could have been condensed into one really good book. And because it was spread over three books, there was a lot of unnecessary ups and downs that maybe didn't need to be there, and actually just drew out a story that could have been done in a much more concise way. And I think I maybe would have enjoyed it a bit more. But that being said, hey, I did read it, I did buy it, and I did buy into it. So in that sense, it was enjoyable. I'm just not sure I would wholly endorse it as a series.
If you love reading YA novels and you want to hear more of my vlog reviews, please hit subscribe and then you won't miss out.